This is a pencil, about 6 or 7 millimeters thick. And this is the OPPO Find N6. Open, unfolded, 4.2 millimeters, thinner than a pencil. Folded in half, 8.9 millimeters. Still thinner than most flagship phones you can buy today. It slides into my pocket where it usually gets lost, and for the past few weeks, it's been the only device I carry. No second phone, no tablet, just this. But this isn't a review because the real story isn't the phone. It's the race that produced it. For nearly 2 decades, since the very first iPhone, the smartphone has been a glass rectangle. A slab that gets marginally thinner, marginally faster, with a marginally better camera every single year. The average person now holds onto their phone for almost 3 years. Not because they can't afford a new one, because they can't tell the difference. The smartphone peaked, and most people were completely fine with that. Until a few companies asked a question that sounded absurd.
We can actually bend the screen.
What if the phone could fold?
Earlier this week, we started to test the Samsung Galaxy Fold. After just 2 days, the internal display broke completely.
The first time the world saw a foldable smartphone, it broke. Literally. In April 2019, Samsung shipped the Galaxy Fold to reviewers at $1,980. And within days, the screen were flickering, blacking out, and developing bulges under the display. Some reviewers peeled off what looked like a screen protector.
So I start peeling it up, and within a couple seconds, you start to realize it's more well glued.
It was a structural layer. Samsung delayed the launch indefinitely, and the internet wrote the eulogy. Foldables were dead on arrival. But Samsung didn't walk away. They came back 7 times. The original Fold was 17.1 millimeters thick when closed, a brick that happened to fold. And generation by generation, they ground it down. Ultra-thin glass, thinner, lighter, less gap, more durability. Each one solving the problem the last one couldn't quite fix. And last year, the Z Fold 7 landed at 8.9 millimeters folded and 215 grams. From 17 to 9. From a phone that shattered on reviewers' desks to a device thinner than most flagship slabs. That's not iteration, that's an engineering marathon, and Samsung ran it alone for a while before anyone else showed up with something other than a concept. That's the kind of story I live for, and if this story resonates with you, consider subscribing, because why not? You see, Samsung wasn't alone for long. While they were grinding through generations, Chinese manufacturers entered the race with a very different playbook.
We bring you the future of design, the future of technology.
No 7-year warm-up, no public disasters. They studied everything Samsung had done and started iterating fast. Honor, Xiaomi, and then OPPO. Last year, I reviewed the OPPO Find N5, and I called it "This is the foldable to beat." In fact, this is the phone to beat. You can check out the full episode at the end of this one. Now, this wasn't a hot take. The N5 was impossibly thin, the hinge was German-engineered saloon smooth, the camera was Hasselblad tuned, and the whole thing made everything else feel like it was coasting. So when the N6 arrived a few weeks ago, I did something I rarely do. I ditched everything. My iPhone 17 Pro Max and my 11-inch iPad Pro both went into the drawer. The N6 became my only device. I wanted to know if this refinement, because that's what it is, it's refinement, could genuinely replace 2 devices, not just one. Now, picking up the N6 after living with the N5 was not a moment where I went, wow, everything is different. If you put them side by side in the same color, you'd struggle to tell them apart. In fact, the case from the N5 barely fits because the camera module is slightly different. That's about it from a glance. But this is a phone that rewards attention, and the first thing that earns that attention is the crease, or rather the near absence of one. OPPO calls it the zero-field crease, and here's what they actually did. They developed a second-generation titanium hinge using an industry-first technique called 3D liquid printing, where lasers scan for microscopic surface irregularities and then high-precision 3D printing fills them in layer by layer, UV solidified in over 20 cycles. The result, hinge height variance drops from the industry standard of 0.2 mm to 0.05. Then they pair that with something called auto-smoothing flex glass, 50% thicker than conventional ultra-thin glass, which acts like a structural spring, actively pulling the display flat every time you unfold it. According to TUV Reinheld's testing, the N6 reduces long-term crease depth by 82% over the N5, and they certified it to 600,000 folds. Now, can you still see the fold if you're looking for it? Yes. But swiping your finger across this display, you can easily forget there's a fold there at all. Very impressive in person. But here's where this story gets interesting from a competitive standpoint. Samsung Z Fold 7 and the OPPO Find N6 are, on paper, dimensionally very similar, almost identical. Both fold down to 8.9 mm, both open to 4.2. Samsung got there by making a trade. They removed the S Pen support entirely, dropped the display digitizer to save thickness. Samsung themselves said only a small portion of Fold users were actually using the stylus, so they cut it. Fair enough. OPPO, however, did the opposite. They matched the same dimensions and added a pen support on both screens, the inner 8.12-inch display and the outer 6.62. The AI pen has 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity, it charges wirelessly from the phone through a case, and 3 minutes of charging gives you an hour of use. Samsung subtracted a feature to hit the target, OPPO added one. Same dimensions, different philosophy. And honestly, the more time I spend with this phone, the more one thing starts to bother me. Because this incredible piece of engineering, this foldable leading the race right now, most of you watching can't actually buy it. Not in the US, not in Europe, and that story is bigger than OPPO. It's about who gets to decide what technology reaches you, which if you think about it, is one of the many things you don't have full control over these days. And while we are on the subject of things that you don't have full control over, there is a version of you online right now that you didn't create. Your name, your address, phone number, details about your family, all available to anyone who decides to look. That's how spam calls, phishing emails, and identity theft start, with information that shouldn't be public in the first place. I tried Googling my full name and city, and you'd be surprised how much comes up. Removing all of that manually takes hundreds of hours, and it keeps coming back. That's what Incogni handles for you. You sign up, and they work to remove your personal information from across the internet automatically. But what really sets them apart is custom removals on their unlimited plan. You Google yourself, find a site exposing your data, paste the link into Incogni, and their privacy experts take care of the rest. It goes way beyond what any automated service covers. They're also the first and only data removal service independently verified by Deloitte, so you know it actually works. You can try it risk-free for 30 days at incogni.com/thisise and use my code ThisIsE for 60% off an annual plan. Okay, so why can't most people buy this phone? Before we get there, let me first show you something that proves my entire thesis about why foldables should exist. O+ Connect, OPPO's Mac and Windows software suite. I am sitting here, phone in hand, remote controlling my MacBook from across the room. I may as well be doing that from the opposite side of the world. On top of that, copy-paste between Android and macOS, file transfers without cables. That's not spec improvement, that's a capability the form factor unlocks. Try remote controlling your Mac from a regular phone. In fact, I can't even control my iPhone from my Mac because of stupid EU regulations, but the biggest problem with regular slabs is that the screen is too small. This is what foldables actually are for, and you don't sacrifice anything to get there. 6000 mAh silicon carbon battery in a chassis this thin is unbelievable. For comparison, the Z Fold 7 has 4400. That's 36% gap and denser battery chemistry, resulting in a phone that lasts easily 2 days. On top of that, 80-watt wired, 50-watt wireless, and the camera jumped to 200 megapixels on the main sensor, 50 on the ultra-wide with the Hasselblad tuning that made me fall in love with the N5 in the first place. 4K at 120 with Dolby Vision, the video is stellar, even though it's still not quite as consistent as the iPhones. If it wasn't for iMessage and FaceTime, and I mean that specifically, I wouldn't miss a single thing about the iPhone. Now, here's the part nobody talks about. OPPO isn't the only one pushing. Honor Magic V6, Xiaomi's Mix Fold, Huawei's shipping trifolds in the meantime, folds that unfold twice into something closer to a full-size tablet.
And I'm so excited for you to meet the Pixel 10 Pro Fold.
Yes! Come on, here we go. Let's go.
Google came in with the Pixel 10 Pro Fold and brought in IP68 rating to the category for the first time. Samsung kept iterating with the Z Fold 7, and Apple is on deck. Dozens of foldable models are shipping right now across nearly every major smartphone brand. Last year, the category grew double digits. This year, IDC is forecasting 30% growth, Omdia is projecting 50%. Foldables aren't a niche anymore. They're inflecting. And that's exactly why the availability things makes me angry. The N6 is not available in the United States, nor in Europe. Asia, Australia, New Zealand, that's it. And it's not just OPPO. Same story applies for Honor, Xiaomi, and Huawei. The best foldables on the planet are being built in markets most of you can't shop in. If you live in the US or Europe, the race you're watching is a smaller race, a slower one, with fewer runners. Which is why Apple entering changes everything. The iPhone Fold is in trial production right now. Foxconn started building units this month. Mass production is planned for July. If everything holds, it ships this fall likely around the $2,000 price tag. And here's the thing about Apple entering a category. They are almost never first. They're almost always the ones who make it mainstream. 2007, BlackBerry laughed at the first iPhone. Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer said,
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world. Right now we're selling millions and millions and millions of phones a year. Apple is selling 0 phones a year.
2010, the iPad. Critics called it a big iPhone, a solution looking for a problem.
And I am so proud to share it with you this morning.
2015, the Apple Watch. Smartwatches had flopped for years. Every reviewer said wearables were dead. Apple didn't invent any of these categories. They validated them. And when Apple validates, the whole category moves. The thing is, by the time the iPhone Fold ships, the phone I'm holding will already be 3 generations ahead. The best version of this technology already exists. Most of you just can't buy it yet. Will I be excited for the iPhone Fold? Yes. I'm still tied to FaceTime and iMessage, and that's how I stay connected with the people closest to me. And that's the only reason I'm back on the iPhone today. If Apple delivers on a foldable that allows me to keep those 2 things while giving me even a fraction of what the N6 offers right now, that might be the phone. But right now, today, the N6 is ahead. It remains the foldable to beat. Is it perfect? No, the Files app still can't connect to NAS or cloud storage natively, which on a device position at this level is a genuine workflow limitation. Also, I desperately wish it had a magnetic alignment, T2 or whatever standard we land on eventually, because mounting this phone to accessories without magnets feels like a problem that shouldn't exist in 2026. But these are all complaints that prove the point. When the biggest issue with a foldable is a missing file system feature and the lack of magnets, not the crease nor the battery or the durability, not the weight, something fundamentally has shifted.
10 years ago, few people believed mobile phones would catch on as they have. What a difference a decade makes.
You see, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. The phone we dreamed about were in movies.
What once was the must-have accessory for the business elite is now a personal portal for all.
Devices that flipped open to reveal screens, communicated across the world, fit in your pocket. Science fiction. And now I'm holding a 4.2mm thin device with a display that looks better than my TV at home. One that lasts 2 days, that I can write on with a pen, that I can unfold into a tablet and control my computer from across the world. And my biggest complaint is that I can't feel magnets on the back. We are spoiled. Genuinely, beautifully spoiled. And here's the thing, even if you never buy a foldable, this race matters to you. Because when one category breaks out of the smartphone plateau, the entire industry gets pulled along. The slab in your pocket gets better battery chemistry. Better hinges become better laptop hinges. Thinner glass becomes better glass, period. The innovation spills over. So whether you're planning to buy a Fold tomorrow or never, the race itself is worth paying attention to. Right now, the OPPO Find N6 is leading it. Whether the rest of the world gets to experience that, that's a different race entirely. Now, if you want to dive deeper into the OPPO approach and why their ColorOS deserves the attention, you can check out these episodes right here. Like and subscribe to the channel as well as my newsletter, and as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is Z, over and out.